We are now going to call our City Council workshop to order at 7:12 p.m. Let the record show that all council members are present. Mayor Pro Tem Cobb is on Zoom. With our citizen comments, Melissa Brown. Melissa Brown. Moving to the next person, Cameron Cochran. You have 4 minutes.
Point of personal privilege, Madam Mayor, could we direct the individual to close the back door so we can proceed?
Okay, Mr. Cagle, do it. Madam Secretary, we're ready.
Ready? No? Once again, the city manager's property management decision-making skills and the city council members who are real estate agents is called into question. My topic tonight is the Southern Roots Brewing Company, which is city-owned property, and the sale of that. To understand the sale and transfer of property to a company in Waco, the Southern Roots Brewing, we must first review the history of the Levi's building, the building that was built back in 1915. Last year, the city purchased the property for, I believe, $288,000. I looked online, the Bell County tax assessor valued the same building at $192,000. In that deal, the city of Killeen paid an extra $96,000, again, to a family, I'm told, that has close ties, allegedly, with the city council. Now, the city manager and other real estate agents on the dais want us to unload the building to a new buyer, someone from Waco. Something that's going to be left out of the presentation you'll see shortly is that the brewing company receives an extra $150,000. That money is earmarked to fix any problems they discover on this ancient 109-year-old building. Notwithstanding the net less profit, again, the $288 versus the normal price, which should have been $192, another loss for the city and the taxpayers, as this deal, once again, does not favor the city. But let's move on. I'd like to remind everyone in the audience, the historical building, the building yesterday at Fort Worth, that's similar to the one we have here in Killeen based on the age, exploded. Debris was scattered all around the Fort Worth area. Now Killeen and the city council want to play Russian roulette with another ancient building that's about 109 years old. Even though you're going to allow them and give them $150,000 for the renovation, keep in mind this structure has been empty for many years and needs more money for that disrepair. But let's move on and discuss the Downtown Revitalization Program. The American Rescue Plan Act, or grant, divided $1 million among 7 businesses. The good news is, to help with the downtown revitalization, the city attorney has given her approval for the city communications director to give free advertisement to those private businesses using the governmental website and Instagram. However, this is only for those 7 businesses, I'm told, as no one else who did not receive the COVID money should not be advertised. Those 55 other businesses located downtown did not receive the ARPA grant money. Those businesses such as Cristela Flowers, Gift City, a fashion boutique, a Mint of Killeen, and the New York style skincare product, as well as many other businesses, will not be able to participate in the propaganda program on the social media platforms. That means, yes, no Facebook posts, no tweets, no Instagram, no way, shape, and form can the new brewery participate in the special treatment. If so, the communications director is violating the city attorney's legal ethics program, where she said you should not do that. Let's move on. I noticed that in the 2023, only 5 of the 7 businesses who received the grant money opened their doors. Wasn't it part of the agreement? It says online that they should have already started selling their products back in 2023. For those 2 businesses that failed to pay and open up their doors, does that mean they're giving back the grant money? Who knows? How about the interest they've been collecting from 2002 to the present? Who gets that cash? Guess they get to keep that as well. For those in the audience, now pay particular attention when you do see the presentation that the city attorney and the communications director will speak after me to spin this truth, pretend I'm wrong about these events. Thank you.
Thank you. Kandis Cooper. Kandisa Cooper, I apologize. Good evening, you have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, city managers, council, and staff. My name is Kandis Cooper. There's a lot of touch points. I'm one of the recipients of the ARPA grant. I am one of the ones that did open. I'm one of the ones who have also signed up for a city program. Yes, you cannot advertise individual businesses, but you can support the program, as it clearly states in what the communications department has posted. I definitely wanted to touch bases on one thing when we're talking about a few things, in saying that character dictates conduct. Conduct reflects control. And that's what I feel the city has done a good job in, is controlling the narrative, understanding that they're being transparent in all of these programs. That particular ARP grant fund program, I am federally bound by this contract. And so there is no loopholes. No individual city member owns my property, my business. But what we have been doing is getting support and transparency in how to move this business forward. What you also must also mention is the property value increases in a divested area of your city. When you do not produce revenue for one side of an entire city, then the rest of the city has to carry the load. And so what downtown is seeing is that now we are able to pick up the load and interest businesses like Southern Roots Brewery, who is actually an Army veteran, was once stationed here at what was Fort Hood. And so he's actually a Killeen prior resident. And so don't we want to entice businesses from other cities to come to our area? That is what development is. To continue to spin the narrative that there is something misdeeds being conducted by these programs, as they are clearly transparently stated. I have actually been receiving threats from said individuals. I've been called basically a company stooge from one of the individuals. And so what we wanted, yes, ma'am. And so what I wanted to make sure is that we're understanding, not allow the narrative to be spun that what we're doing and what you guys are supporting in the downtown area is not for the betterment of the entire city. There is definitely some dog whistle words that are being triggered points for certain individuals in the room, but we're excited about what's happening downtown. I also sit on the Downtown Advisory Committee, and so we get to have these conversations about downtown events coming to the area, the safety aspect and what the police department is doing for the homeless situation downtown, how they come and check on all the businesses, and how really the businesses down here support one another. That particular program for the Shop Downtown program, if I can make sure we clarify, that is a cyclical program that was started last year, had an expiration date, and then restarted. And so the other individuals that chose not to sign up for that program have the opportunity once the expiration for this
Ms.
one
Cooper.
happens. Yes, ma'am.
Get back on track,
Oh,
please.
yes, ma'am. And so it's about the Southern Roots. That's what I was here talking about. So again, just continuing to further encourage businesses like the ones out of town. It's exciting to see someone who was once here in the area, seeing the excitement and the revitalization of our city. And so please continue doing what you're doing. There are a lot of us here that support you guys and support just the growth and conduct of our city. So thank you all.
Thank you. Sean Price?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Oh, I apologize. Councilwoman Gonzalez, I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam. Just a couple of things that the citizen touched on. I just want to also reiterate, part of our strategic plan for our downtown comprehensive plan, our downtown strategy for the revitalization of our downtown, was to do something different. It was very important that we had open communication, but also transparency, meaning that we needed metrics to be able to watch the return on our investment from our citizens and from the investment of our ARPA dollars. Kate Casito has done a tremendous job of stating that at several of our town halls. We have done a tremendous job of showcasing the benefits to the increase in our property value. And so I want to thank everyone who's participating in this program for their continued support.
Thank you. Mr. Price, you have 4 minutes.
City Council, if you see why I rose on here on RS 24002, pretty much throughout, I'm opposed to all your spending. Our country's broke. We have no more money. There is no more money. So when you look at 003, $68,699.04, and then 004, $60,000 for the CC Sporting Goods. Go back over onto the back to 2412, $600,000 for expansion of operations for MGC Pure Chemicals. Why? I come up here and I ask certain questions on these agenda items, and I get very vague or no answers whatsoever. And I'm just curious, because my tax dollars keep going up, or my tax base keeps going up. I keep having to spend more and more on taxes, property taxes, purchase taxes, gas taxes, everything. It's always more and more and more. And it's spending on stuff that I don't understand why we're spending it on, such as the brewery. Why are we spending it? Why can't they just get their own loans, get their own money? And yeah, I have questions because it's just like the boom that we spent $71,000 on. Why? When you can buy it for $56,000, brand new. Why did we spend more money than we needed to? That's my question. It caused to suspect. It looks bad when we spend $71,000 for an item that costs $56,000 from the manufacturer with delivery. That draws my attention. So that's why I'm up here to oppose all this spending. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Aka Nagu. Oh, I apologize. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a response to a question that was posed regarding RS 24-012, the MGC Pure Chemicals America. This is for, as it states here, an agreement with the company for the reimbursement of certain infrastructure costs associated with the expansion of its operation. So there's an existing agreement in place, and we are now working to approve our portion of the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is regarding item number 9, consider a memorandum authorizing the execution of amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Pape Dawson Engineers in the amount of $150,000 for development services support. I have been working with them, with Pape Dawson, since they were hired by the city of Killeen to provide development services. Their engineer is very knowledgeable and very easy to communicate with, very accessible. She's wonderful to work with, and I look forward to working with their engineer on future projects. For that reason, I agree with amending the current contract so we can continue working with Pape Dawson. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leo Gukaisen. Good evening, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Get my thing here opened up. Whatever. Okay, I'm here to talk about RS 24-013, the Sale and Economic Development Agreement for 324 North Gray Street. First, I'd like to say that after looking at it, it does seem like it's going to be a good thing for the downtown area. Hopefully, They will move in, do what they have to do, and, bring in a lot of business in the downtown area. But as numerously stated before, now, I am not a realtor. I don't play a realtor. But I do have some questions, and maybe this body will be able to answer them for me, because it's kind of questionable, in my opinion, and I always like to go to the source when I have a question. The first one is, it was brought up earlier that the city purchased the building for $288,000, but it was appraised at $192,231, with a difference of $95,769. Now, I know when you sell a house, there's a margin of profit. Is that a standard margin of profit in a business building like that, with its age and current condition? Secondly, it states here that the project would add up to 30 local jobs with an average full-time employment salary of $50,000 a year. My question that I asked, and I asked the same one regarding the chemical plant when they opened up, do we know how many of those positions are going to be full-time compared to part-time? Also, it states under the same category that Southern Roots is also offering a public-private partnership by allowing the City of Killeen to utilize the building for 72 days a year for meetings, conferences, employment engagements, and downtown event headquarters. The value of the space retail is $108,000 a year. My question on that one is, are those 72 hours free to the city to use, or are we going to pay them $108,000 a year for those 72 days? And I have a question about this, the city to sell the property for $300,000, warranty deed secured by vendor lien. This lien would be forgiven upon operation for 5 years. Now, my question is, I did some little research online during the break. If I'm not mistaken, if I am, please correct me, that the title of the building under this process remains with the city. So if the city maintains the title of the property, will the city, since it's a government agency, receive any taxes from the city, from the revenue, added to the revenue if it's a government-owned building? Because government buildings, government agencies don't pay property taxes. So what are we going to get from that? In the first deal, the owner of the building at the time got $97,000.
Mr. Gukaisen,
My
your
time is up.
time is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, but I did write your questions down. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Gukaisen, I wanted to address your first question, and it's a common question that we get in the real estate profession. And there's an absolute distinction between tax assessed value that you'll see on your Bell County Appraisal District website and market value. They're not one and the same. Market value is what the current market is willing and able to pay for a piece of property. Your tax assessed value is figured in a different manner. So they're not the same, and you'll probably notice in almost every real estate deal, if you were to compare the sales price and the assessed value, that they hardly ever match. Thank you.
Melissa Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize for saying it the first time.
You're welcome.
All right, good evening, council. Let me start with the easy part first, which is the FY25 budget calendar. I would hope that this year it's prearranged to have a minimum 1 or 2 town halls on it. I think the best year that I've ever seen for a budget is when there were 4 of them, and they were held at different places around the city, 1 in each district. District council members were able to be there, and all the citizens were able to get more access to what was coming up in the budget process. I am opposed to the PUD amendment on Rosewood Drive. I live right off of Rosewood. That intersection where the additional apartments are being requested has seen a large increase in accidents. I don't have the exact numbers. I just know that I drive by there all the time. I know that several of our council members drive through that area all the time also. The number of accidents is becoming ridiculous, and I'm afraid that somebody's going to be seriously injured or worse. And then we get into our 311 and 380 agreements. So on our 311 and 380 for MGC Pure, what we're talking about is $1.9 million for 10 new jobs. So we're going to pay $190,000 per employee when their average salary is only required to be $44,000 a year. Those are 10 people. There's no part of the agreement that says that any of them have to be from Killeen. So we could be bringing in 10 people from other states, and they still get to take advantage of $1.9 million. They're also requesting an additional 50% of personal property tax, which will bring it up to a total of $54.4 million of what they actually have. And over the course of 10 years, we're going to be giving them a reimbursement on that, in addition to the $600,000 that we're going to give them under this 311. Let's contrast that with the Southern Roots Brewing Company, which is going to bring in 20 new employees at $50,000 each for at least 5 years. They're going to bring in a minimum of $1.2 million in increased real and personal property value to that area, which will then all go back into the TERS. The city won't see the direct benefit of any of that, because it will go into the TERS, but it will be something that we can use to improve Rancier, the downtown area, or anything in that TERS district. So the question is, why does the MGC Pure deserve so much extra than a company that's bringing in more employees, that's going to pay them better, that's going to help facilitate the growth in the city of Killeen, and is more likely to be bringing in local employees? I would support giving money to Southern Roots, especially if there is an agreement that the city is going to be able to use it. However, I am completely opposed to the increases in MGC Pure. For the record, we do not have that agreement with them yet. That is what these 2 items are, is to agree to those terms. Let's also think about the fact that we can't repurpose MGC Pure. If they decide to leave at any point in time, we are stuck with the chemical company. Even if we have them take it back down to the ground, it's never going to be worth what it is with that there. There is nobody else that can come in and use it. They do not employ many people right now. And the sales tax on it, I have not seen a huge increase in our sales tax just because of MGC Pure. So where is the actual benefit to the city other than saying that, yes, we have this chemical company and it's expanding and it's taking up more space in our industrial park that we're out of space in? I would encourage the council to approve Southern Roots, but to decline to support the MGC Pure 311 and 380 agreements. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Raymond Cockrell. Good evening, sir. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Raymond Cockrell, the Executive Director of the Food Care Center. It's an honor to be here before you this evening. I'm here to speak in favor of the 2 resolutions regarding MGC Pure Chemical America. I did some research and found that during the ribbon cutting ceremony, our county judge talked about how having MGC Pure Chemical America in our community would help diversify the industrial base in both Killeen and Bell County, which in doing so helps retain higher paying jobs, most especially in the high-tech sector. And historically, most of these jobs have gone to Austin and surrounding communities. The main reason I'm here this evening is to talk to you about how they've reinvested in our community. Since year one, when they came in our community, they started donating to the Clean Food Care Center. With their most recent $6,000 donation this past month, they've now donated over $30,000 to the Clean Food Care Center. That will help and assist us providing 200,000 meals to families in need in our community. And we appreciate their support and them being a partner in helping us feed families in need in our community. And we appreciate your consideration of these two resolutions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Resolutions. Council, you have 5 minutes to speak 2 times each. Mayor Pro Tem, before we go forward, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm just going to remain silent.
Well, thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Not to remain silent, but just thank you for answering. Resolutions, Madam Secretary. I apologize. Minutes.
MN 24001, consider minutes of regular city council meeting of December 12, 2023. MN 24002, consider minutes of regular city council meeting of December 19, 2023.
Thank you. Resolutions, council, you have 5 minutes to speak 2 times each. Madam Secretary.
RS 24002, consider a memorandum resolution for a memorandum of agreement for the City of Killeen with the United States Army Training and Doctrine Command to participate in the United States Army Partnership for Your Success program.
Thank you. Good evening, Mrs. Bark.
Good evening, council, council mayor and city manager. The item before you is for an agreement with the city of Killeen in the U.S. Army for a partnership for your success program. In August, Madam Mayor Nash King sent me information on this program, and I researched it, and that's why I'm here today. Hopefully that you guys will approve it. So let me begin. I have to go this way, right? Is that the way? That one. Oh, there it goes. All right. Let me begin with a little bit of background of the program. The United States Army Training and Doctrine Command began the partnership for your success program in October of 2000 as an enlistment incentive. Are we okay? Okay. The PACE program is a strategic partnership between the U.S. Army and cross-sections of corporations, companies, and public sectors like us. The PACE program connects enlisted soldiers and Reserve Officer Training Corps ROTC candidates to corporation companies and public sector agencies for guaranteed interview and possible employment after the Army. Okay. Here we go. All right. Some of the benefits of this program, if you guys approve it, is that there's no financial obligation to the city and no obligation to actually hold positions for the candidates in the program. The program has invited the city of Killeen to participate in the PAYS program, offering soldiers and cadets interviews for the city Killeen positions where they're qualified. This does not guarantee employment, and the applicants must meet the minimum qualifications to be eligible to interview. Participation in the program will benefit the city of Killeen by expanding the applicant pool for vacancies, attracting individuals who safeguard America, as well as provide a stronger American workforce both today and in the future. In addition, the program will provide opportunities for the city of Killeen to employ professional, trained, and responsible men and women with Army values, experience, and proven leadership skills. The city of Killeen will work side by side with the Army recruiters at career fairs or jointly staffed booths, sending a powerful message throughout the community. The program is available to men and women in regular U.S. Army National Guard, and U.S. Army Reserve. So our options today, oh, I went the wrong way, sorry. We have 2 options today, is either to approve or disapprove the memorandum of agreement with the city of Killeen and the U.S. Army in order to participate in the Partnership for Your Success program that will expand our recruitment pool. And of course, staff recommends recommends this, and we hope that the city council will authorize the city manager to execute in the memorandum of agreement for the city of Killeen with the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command to participate in this partnership. If you have any questions, and I'm supposed to have someone online. She didn't show? Okay. All right. So we were supposed to have someone online to kind of give you a little more explanation about the program, actually from Washington, D.C., and I guess we didn't get to connect to do that. But we will be back. If you guys approve it next week, we will be back at the end of this month to actually do a signing ceremony.
Thank you. Any question, Councilmember Adams?
Quick question. Should we approve it next week? When would it start?
Once we sign the memorandum.
Immediately after?
Yes, sir. At the end of this month, we'll have a signing.
I'm quite familiar with the program. I'm glad that we finally got it here.
Yes, sir.
And then considering the conference, the summit we went to today, and we talked about jobs and keeping people here, this is one of those perfect programs to add to that situation. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Barr. Council, I had gone to the U.S. Mayor's Conference in Washington, D.C., and this program was presented, a lot of great programs, but this program is free. And when we look at filling our vacancies, we want the top-notch leaders to take over these positions at every level. What better way to give back to our men and women in uniform to let them know that you have an opportunity here in the city of Killeen. So I thought that was a win-win for everyone in this area to benefit from supporting our men and women in the military. Once again, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24003, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the purchase of Cohesity Backup Expansion and license true-up from NetSync Network Solutions in an amount not to exceed $68,699.04.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Russo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you tonight is the Cohesity Backup Expansion and License True-Up. I do want to start off with saying that this was a budgeted item from the budget year. In April 2021, Council approved the purchase of the backup of solution. The system creates copies of the data that can be restored, recovered to operating system in the event of disaster, security breach, or missing and deleted files, which is one of our major tenets in our businesses to make sure we have all your data backed up. The expansion of the 2 nodes and license true-up provides the city with a 1-year subscription licensing and additional 72 terabytes of storage to continue to use this solution. NetSync is a certified Cisco partner, and pricing is through the Texas Department of Information Resources through the DIR CPO 4430. The cost of the expansion and license true-up is $68,699.04. It includes the hardware equipment, Cisco support on hardware and software, and professional services. And our alternatives is to authorize the purchase of the Cohesity expansion or not to authorize. And our suggestion is to authorize that. The staff recommends the city manager authorize and execute the purchase of the Cohesity expansion and license true-up with NetSync, a Cisco certified vendor utilizing the DIR contract in the amount not to exceed $68,699.04. And I would entertain any questions that you have at this time.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick question. If we don't do this through this buyback, this program, it'll cost the city a lot more.
We're at currently 84% capacity. So we're at a point to where we only have 20% available to back up if we were backing any more data. So this will give me an additional 108 terabytes or 72 usable, which will put us down to the 60% mode. So it gives us about 400 terabytes total. We have 504 terabytes that we are actually using. So it keeps us in that comfort zone of 60%.
I understand exactly what you just said. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm talking specifically on because a comment was asked about, because sometimes we spend more, but if we weren't part of this state program, would this be a higher cost for us?
We would go to competitive bidding, and it could be higher cost.
Okay. And this, doing it through this.
The
I know
DIR gives us the option to have the best price.
Okay.
And that's why we use the DIR contracts, because they are contracted. These individuals go through a rigid process through Texas DIR to get on their contract, and that is the best pricing that we get from them.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Russell, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24004, consider a memorandum resolution awarding RFP 24-08 athletic uniforms and clothing services agreement to CNC Sporting Goods in an amount not to exceed $60,000 for FY 2024.
Ms. Snook, Happy New Year.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This is a awarding of the athletic uniforms and apparels for the Parks and Recreation Department. The Parks and Recreation staff has solicited proposals for athletic uniforms and clothing services to support our youth and adult athletic leagues. Parks and Recreation hosts 4 seasons of youth sports leagues, winter, spring, fall, and summer, offering 7 youth leagues and 5 adult leagues with a total of 3,087 participants per year. This service will provide all Parks and Recreation athletic uniform apparel to include baseball and softball, co-ed basketball, soccer, t-ball, volleyball, and kickball. The terms of agreement will be for a 1-year term with up to 4 additional 1-year renewal terms if both parties agree in writing at least 90 days before the end of the initial term. Any price increases when renewing the agreement must be submitted to the department 120 days prior to the potential renewal. On October 22nd, 2023, Parks and Rec advertised an RFP 20-08 for athletic uniforms and apparel services. We received 8 responses, including the one from our preferred bidder. The total contract for the athletics uniforms and clothing will not exceed $60,000 per year, with a total for a potential 5-year renewal agreement will not exceed $300,000. Our alternatives are to deny the request as written or to approve the bid with CNC Sporting Goods for up to a 5-year annual renewal contract. The recommendation is to approve the bid and enter into an agreement with CNC Sporting Goods not to exceed $60,000 per year over the course of 5 years, and that the city manager or designee be authorized to execute any change orders as permitted by state and local law. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Snook, for all you do for our youth and the programs in the summer and throughout the year. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Snook, for that presentation. I just had one question. I know as residents register for these different youth leagues and adult leagues that Parks and Recs offers, they pay a fee
Yes,
for
sir.
that? Does that fee encompass, or does that fee include this apparel expenditure? Basically, are we covering this expense somehow, and maybe back in fees? I don't know if they're even tracking that, or.
We do track our fees. Our fees do encompass most, but not all, costs of putting the programs together and providing the uniforms.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My quick question is, the wear and tear of the uniforms, when the students or the participants receive uniforms, do we receive at least 50% of them back?
Do we receive the uniforms back? No, we do not.
You're not, so they get to keep the uniform?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And I could be wrong, Ms. Snook, the wear and tear on it, and I don't think a lot of parents would want their kids to, wear a uniform. And we don't have the capability of doing a extremely sterile cleaning on the uniforms also, correct?
Yes, I would say wear and tear over the course of a season is probably the biggest reason we don't reuse them, but also getting them back, cleaning them would be quite a process. We probably would not get them all back even if we asked.
Mayor Pro Tem, that was an excellent question, because most people wondering the price that we have to pay for uniform, why we not getting them back. So that was an excellent question from our Mayor Pro Tem.
And most of them are T-shirts. They are not a full, like you would think of a football uniform. The kids are wearing their own shorts with a T-shirt, simple kind of uniform.
Yes, ma'am. Anything else, Mayor Pro Tem, before we move forward?
No, I just love to see the kids having what they need to be successful. What Dion tells us, when you look good, you feel good, you play good. So, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good statement. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Ms. Snook. Madam Secretary.
RS 24005, consider a memorandum resolution accepting the wildland fire vehicle allocation from TIFMAS.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. My favorite chief, Chief Lopez, is not here, so don't tell him, okay? Good evening, Chief Kibisky. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good, Mayor. Thank you. Mayor, Council, City Manager, good evening. A couple of exciting ones tonight. This one takes the cake, in my opinion. In front of you today is to accept a wildland firefighting vehicle. A little bit of background. The Texas Intrastate Fire Mutual Aid System, we'll call it TIFMAS for short, is administered by Texas A&M Forest Service. It's a comprehensive initiative formed in the aftermath of Hurricane Ike. TIFMAS integrates grants, training, qualifications, mobilization systems to utilize local resources statewide to respond to emergencies. The Killeen Fire Department has actively participated in TIFMAS, notably establishing our wildland team in 2019, which successfully deployed for the first time in 2020. So they're a relatively young team comparatively. Here, this slide is just to show you what active Forest Service resources are currently available throughout the state. They have 43 dozers, 2 motor graders, 6 engines. So we work with the Forestry Service and TIFMAS when we go out on any deployment, and those are deployed all throughout the state. The goal of those resources is to keep them close to an interstate, to be able to quickly deploy anywhere throughout the state that has an emergency. The engines that we're specifically talking about, there's 3 types. There's a Type 3, that's a large vehicle. It's about a half size of a fire engine. Sits tall up in the air. Then we have a Type 4, it's a little bit smaller. Should have been Type 6, I apologize, that was my typo. And then we have tactical tenders, which carry thousands of gallons of water. Those are the 3 main types of resources. As you see in this map, these are where the engines are located. There are 61 engines located throughout the state that have been purchased through TIFMAS and then allocated to local fire departments. So TIFMAS annually allocates funds for apparatus grants, and each agency that participates in TIFMAS earns points based on various criteria with annual vehicle awards that recognize the individual agency preparedness. In a meeting on November 1st of 2023, TIFMAS allocated $2.2 million. Seems like a lot. It's not, because it only got 4 fire engines. As you know, those are expensive vehicles. Killeen Fire Department, with the highest points, was granted a Type 3 suppression unit, including all necessary equipment. You're going to ask me, what is a Type 3 vehicle? I'll show you that in a minute. But I want to pause here for a minute because I have to recognize Battalion Chief Corey Davis and Fire Rescue Officer Joseph Stiles, who are the team lead and assistant team lead, and their hard work, and I know they're going to talk about their team's hard work if you ask them, because they're the ones who did this. It was their involvement, their participation, their willingness to leave their family for 7 days and go on a deployment and come back without seeing their family for 7 days straight. Their willingness to put the extra work in on their days off, to do all the things that need to be done to get trained and certified as engine bosses and strike team leaders. So I have to recognize them. This vehicle that we are going to receive is valued at approximately $500,000. It comes turnkey with radios, loose equipment at no cost to the department except for annual fuel and maintenance. The department commits to maintaining the vehicle for 15 years and deploying it within the city into neighboring communities upon request. And then after the agreement period, City of Killeen owns the vehicle outright with no obligation to return it back to TIFMAS. If at any point during the 15-year commitment, City does not want to participate in the TIFMAS program, all we have to do is return the vehicle back to TIFMAS and they'll reallocate it and deploy it somewhere else. The Type 3 suppression unit will be the first vehicle instead of the Killeen Fire Department-owned vehicles when requested by TIFMAS to deploy to another part of the state. What's the benefit to that? Well, it adds a new capability to our wildland fire response. As you know, we've seen a lot of that over the last couple of years with our hot, dry summers. As you take a look at these photos here, the model that is going to be built by TIFMAS is the exact same model that CAL FIRE uses, who handles wildland fires even more than the state of Texas. It's a versatile, medium-sized, 500-gallon of water, wildland urban interface enhanced structure protection. And that's something that we're seeing much more in Killeen now. We have these big, large, open areas, and then houses and subdivisions that butt right up to it. And when a wind picks up and a wildland fire starts, those houses become threatened. And we've demonstrated that a couple times this year, where these guys and gals, because of their expertise and how they handled it, made sure it didn't hit any houses. We have not lost any occupied structures in the 3 years that I've been here, and many times, 3 times I can think of, that we've had houses threatened through wildland fires. This enhances our ability to respond to that. If they become deployed and it's not in town, the good news is that we now have 6 units in town, as opposed to when they deploy, they take one of our brush trucks out of town, we only have 5. We're comfortable with 5, but 6 is always better, especially if we see more. Projected annual cost will be about $16,200, and these are just estimates based on what we see our current fire engines and booster trucks using for fuel, provided by our Fleet Services Division. Fuel is about $6,400. Maintenance is about $1,800. And then any projected repairs, wear and tear on the vehicle after the 12-month warranty expires is about $8,000 in a year. That's not necessarily going to be the case, but if a water pump goes out, if something more mechanical in nature goes out, we anticipate about an $8,000 per year cost. However, a portion of these costs may be reimbursed as a result of the deployment, because even though this vehicle is purchased by TIFMAS, they still will get reimbursements for deployments. It's just at a lower rate. Funds will be included in the FY25 budget process because our vehicle delivery is expected to be in about 12 to 18 months. Your alternatives are to not accept the vehicle, and if we don't accept it, then the vehicle will be granted to a next agency in line, or to accept the vehicle. And our recommendation is to accept the vehicle with an expected delivery of 12 to 18 months.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all for your hard work and dedication to our city, our community, Fort Cavazos, and the surrounding area. Thank you both. With that being said, Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Killeen Fire Department, best fire department in the state of Texas. I tell anybody that all day long. I do want to say congratulations to the fire department for earning the annual vehicle award. Just 2 questions. Do we have a dedicated storage location for the new unit?
I'm currently working with Chief Davis on that. We want to locate it in a place where the deployable wildland team members are going to be more often. They just have that knack and that ability to be a little bit more detail-oriented, make sure that vehicle is maintained to a level that's ready to respond. Not that any of our other members, all firefighters on the Killeen Fire Department have basic level wildland training, but the deployable team members have a little bit more intricate knowledge on how to maintain that vehicle. Most likely, we're talking 2 spots, is Central Station or Station 9. Those are the 2 that we see have the best fit for the vehicle.
Station 9 is in District 4?
That is correct, sir.
No, but look, the other question I had, the color scheme, are we going to work to match it with the rest of the fleet?
That, unfortunately, we cannot change. They deliver it to us as a white vehicle with a blue stripe. Those are the TIFMAS colors, but what we can do is put our City of Killeen decals on the vehicle. So it will have our black and gray Killeen Fire decals and patch in large format that will be on that as well.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I got. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome, District 4 Representative. Councilmember Adam.
Thank you. Hey, Chief, just quick question, hopefully it's quick. So is this only used for deployable for TIFMAS missions, or can it, if there's a wildfire here, can we use it on your call? And would that mean we will cover the cost for that? Because on TIFMAS, they reimburse us.
So it depends on if TIFMAS, let me go, first question. Yes, it can be used in town. As long as and it will go on every one of our brush fires, because we always send 2, and the only rule is it can go second out. So it will roll a Killeen unit and the TIFMAS Killeen unit at the same time. So it will be responding to every one of the brush fires in town when it's in town. In ways of deployment, if it responds to a fire in town, it's not deploy or reimbursable unless TIFMAS actually deploys a full team out to our area because we're seeing high call volume.
And then the last question is, statement. I ever since you came here and you talked about the process when we got the new fire trucks and how we take, we just had a conversation about operational test command earlier today, and having been a soldier that used to try to break up the equipment to make it work, I applaud what you're doing with your team members to have them go out, break it, let them refix it, just redesign it so we make sure it works for the people that are using it. And I thank you for that.
My pleasure.
So Chief, basically, you have a loaner to assist across the state in case there's a brush fire or any major fire, while we can utilize it to assist our own fire department.
Absolutely.
In a nutshell. All right, once again, thank you all for all you do for our community, and please don't tell Chief Lopez.
Your secret's safe with me.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you both. Madam Secretary.
RS 24006, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the execution of the professional services agreement with Frontline Mobile Health, PLLC, for annual medical evaluations in the amount of $255,000.
Thank you. Chief, welcome back.
Strategy. Get to stay up here and not have to sit down. Keeping my physical fitness in shape and not bending my knees so much. A little background on this topic. Firefighters face numerous hazards while responding to medical and fire emergencies, prompting the use of standards to ensure effective service and protect our personnel. NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, Chapter 1582, serves as a crucial guide for the comprehensive occupational medical programs addressing the heightened risks of cancer, mental health issues, heart attacks, and lung diseases among firefighters. The fiscal year 2024 budget for the Killeen Fire Department allocates additional funds specifically for NFPA 1582 annual medical evaluations and cancer screenings. Our selected provider would provide all the necessary equipment for the medical screening and evaluation process, as well as perform all services at existing Killeen Fire Department facilities. Other considered providers either required the Killeen Fire Department to provide pieces of the testing equipment, like a treadmill, or it required us to drive out of city limits to their location. The off-site location was a concern because it would require our personnel to either perform the evaluation while off-duty or drive our fire department vehicles to their location, which is 20 miles outside of city limits. The off-duty option would incur additional overtime costs for each member needing the evaluation, as we are going to mandate that all personnel, require that all personnel complete this. If they choose not to use this vendor, they're going to have a very strict guideline. If they want to go to their physician, then they're going to have to follow the exact same guideline and pay for it out of their pocket. So we do give our employees an option if they don't want to use our vendor, but we still have to have them do it every year. And then the on-duty option, additional fuel costs, vehicle wear and tear that we have not budgeted for, and our personnel would be taken off of line for 2 or more hours due to the evaluation being performed, again, 20 miles outside of city limits. Cost for all services provided by Frontline Mobile Health will not exceed $255,000 for the first year, and the contract states no more than a 5% increase per year for each of the renewal years. However, in speaking with the vendor, they have not passed on an increase in the last 2 years to any of their current contracted providers. So this is going to be a 1-year contract with 4 optional 1-year renewals, so we can look at it each year and make sure that we're getting the best value, and if for some reason there's an increase that we don't find acceptable, we'll go back out and search for a new vendor. Our hazardous materials team members were utilizing a different vendor in previous years that included heavy metals blood testing, which will now be done at the same time of their annual cancer screening and medical evaluation, which will be provided by the selected provider. Your alternatives tonight are to award or not award the contract to Frontline Mobile Health PLLC, and our recommendation is to award the contract to Frontline Mobile Health PLLC. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. I guess you can see I'm really smiling, because this was really big on my top priority, was the council screaming. And to hear that it's going to happen as soon as they put a vote in, and I am so grateful and thankful, protecting and saving the lives of our first responders. And the number one cause of cancer is because of their job, what they do. And they need the best of the best. So I am so glad that this council voted to make that one of the top priorities, to make sure the council screening is in place. So I am so happy. And we have one more question from Mayor Pro Tem Cobb. Mayor Pro Tem, you turned off your volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Chief. When we take care of our staff and we take care of our first responders, people who take care of people, then we are doing good. Thank you so much for this report. I'm so happy as a retired nurse, as a first responder, hats off. And I hope we do invest in this program. When we take care of people, then they take care of us.
I agree with you, Mayor Pro Tem, that this should be one of our top priorities when we go into the budget every year, because it's a life-saving mechanism. So I am very happy about that. Any more questions for Chief? Okay, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Chief. You have one more.
RS 24007, consider a memorandum resolution approving the purchase of fitness equipment from Marathon Fitness for the Clean Fire and Police Departments in an amount not to exceed $97,735 for FY 2024.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Chief.
Good evening again. Clean Fire and Police Departments have identified a common link regarding mental and physical health of our personnel. Physical health problems significantly increase our risk of developing mental health problems, and vice versa. Nearly 1 in 3 people with a long-term physical health condition also have a mental health problem, and most often it's depression or anxiety. Firefighters and police officers are not immune to those diagnoses. In conjunction with our new mental health program, regular exercise is a common way to improve our physical health, which also leads to the mental health improvement. So multiple pieces of Pre-Corps professional level equipment are going to be acquired for the police and fire departments, to include 2 treadmills, an upright bike, an adjustable cross ramp, a complete dumbbell set. Notice the dumbbells are for the police department. 8 stair climbers, and freight delivery and setup of all equipment. Chief Lopez is going to get me for that. The top 4 items are for the police department. The 8 stair climbers are for the fire department. We worked in conjunction together and wanted to put this into one item. The expenditure would not exceed $97,735. It is a budget expense with no additional funding required, coming out of the general fund and project code of ARPA 23 and ARPA 24. It does conform to our state and local purchasing policies. You can either approve or deny the request tonight are your alternatives. And using the Marathon Fitness buy board contract number 665-22. And we recommend approval of the purchase.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Assistant Chief Gerhardt. Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24008, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the execution of Amendment Number 1 to the professional services agreement with Pape Dawson Engineers in the amount of $150,000 for development services support.
Mr. Rivera.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New
Good to
Year,
see
Mayor,
you.
to the City Council and to the City Manager, Assistant City Manager. The item before you tonight, as one of the residents spoke, is an opportunity to continue an existing contract that we have with Pape Dawson. As noted in the background, and last fiscal year, we hired them and engaged their services. And then at the beginning of this fiscal year, as noted in the second bullet, we engaged their services for $49,500. The request tonight again, is to allow us to add $150,000 to that engagement for this fiscal year, which is currently at $49,500. The reason why this is being requested, because we have professional engineering positions that continue to go unfilled. It's not because we haven't tried. We have tried extensively in working with our HR department, but it is a crisis across the nation as it relates to the shortage related to hiring professional engineers, and Killeen is not immune to that. There are sufficient funds available that will allow us to perform this contract amendment should the council approve it, and the alternatives are noted. And we are recommending that the council will approve this amendment to the existing agreement with Pate Dawson by increasing the contract by an amount of $150,000.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. Councilmember Boyd. Councilmember Boyd, I apologize. Councilmember Adams.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. You knocked off 15 years. Before I forget my question, $150,000. What increase in services does that increase the number of dedicated engineers to us, or some additional services for? Because I know it's $150,000
Sure.
is barely what it costs to have one engineer. So
Yeah, so that allows us to have the engineering support from one professional engineer. So we have an existing professional here from Pate Dawson.
Right.
And they provide that support, and this will continue that support. Last fiscal year, I think the numbers were just shy of 125 or so.
Okay.
And so this will allow us to make sure that we've got it. And what I also failed to say, if we're able to fill positions during the course of this fiscal year, then we'll have the ability to kind of transition from this contract and use our in-house services.
Okay, you read my mind, and that's scary, because I was gonna, is there an out if we have
Yes.
if we get a feel for it?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So they will be doing reviewing plans.
Yes, ma'am. All plans associated with a residential house, associated with commercial development. We review thousands of plans associated with residential development and hundreds of plans associated with commercial development. All that requires engineering review in addition to other reviews.
Yes, sir. So that's why it's so significant with that Army's program that we recruit, especially engineers. You mostly see E7 and above, and officers that they have those degrees, those background from the military. So that Army program that Mrs. Bark was talking about is a prime example. The shortage we have,
Yes,
and how
ma'am.
do we fill it?
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, it's a great program. All right, and thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24009, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the award of bid number 2418, pavement marking services to DIJ Construction, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $350,000 for FY24.
Madam Mayor,
You know I'm not calling your name because this is your last meeting, so I'm kind of sad. Good evening, my last time saying this. Good evening, Mr. Reynolds.
good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, City Manager, City Attorney, Assistant City Manager. As stated, this is the award of bid number 24-18 for pavement marking services. Annually, when Transportation Department is doing their annual maintenance, road surface treatments, we're required to do pavement markings for safety reasons. We went out did an invitation for bid for this. To do this, and it was issued for pavement marking services for the larger areas, as our in-house staff normally do the smaller areas, the routine maintenance. But when we do major roadway maintenance, we do have to go out for a larger contract on that. That is what this bid is for. On December 6, 2023, purchasing received 2 bids in response to bid number 24-18. DIJ and Traffic Highway Maintenance submitted those bids, and DIJ Construction was selected as the vendor that represented the best value for the city. We've used them in the past, and it's been a great partnership for us in the past. So we have 2 alternatives tonight. And staff recommends that City Council authorizes the award of bid number 24-18 pavement marking services to DIJ Construction in an amount not to exceed $350,000 citywide for FY24 and not to exceed amounts approved in the budget for future years. And authorize the city manager or designee to execute a contract and furthermore execute any and all change orders within amounts set by state and local law. And I am here to answer any question you may have on this item. And Mr. Kandis is here, as he would be here next week to represent this item if questions arise.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know I'm going to have a question.
Yes, sir.
No, just one question. How often are these pavements the markings needing to be made across the city?
Well, routinely, we just did one on Lowe's Boulevard as they wear out based on the traffic on the roads. That kind of dictates that. But anytime we do a road treatment service, which we do annually based off the new street maintenance fee that we have to do that. So if we do a slurry seal or a HA5 treatment, or if we do a mill and overlay service, we have to go back and strike those roads for safety reasons. So that's what this big contract is used for.
Appreciate it. Thank you for that answer, and thank you for being such a great executive director for the City of Killeen and Public Works. To me, you are the definition of public works, and the way you laid your tent has been very impressive, and God bless you, man. Thank you,
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Madam Secretary.
RS 24010, consider memorandum resolution authorizing maintenance and repairs of HVAC equipment through the Brandt companies in amount not to exceed $150,000 for FY 2024.
Thank you. Good evening, Mrs. Tangleman.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This item is for HVAC repairs and maintenance. Building Services uses HVAC companies to perform necessary repairs and maintenance on existing HVAC units. The vendors we use, we have a budget, for $347,883 for all the vendors that we use for the maintenance and the repairs. The brand companies, it's frequently used for maintenance and repairs of a large complex units at the police department and other city facilities. The police department has a 2-year agreement already with them, and that is included in the amount that we are talking about here in the next slide. The building services estimate $150,000 in HVAC maintenance and repairs with the brand services in fiscal year 2024. The pricing available through Buyboard Purchasing Cooperative. In the recommendation that the City Council authorize the maintenance and repair of HVAC equipment by the brand companies, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $150,000 in fiscal year 2024. If you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24011, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 2 with Choice Builders LLC for the Conder and AA Lane Park drainage improvements, reducing the overall contract amount by $71,462.78.
Welcome back, Mr. Rubel.
Hello to the mayor, to the council, city manager, and assistant city manager. This is a closed project, and so we're working now to seek council approval for the second change order associated with this project. As you look at this project was awarded in November 2022. Construction is, as I said, completed. There was an initial change order that we were able to handle administratively, dealing with drainage that needed to be corrected in the field for $27,167. And again, this change order, which is the final change order, will actually reduce the contract cost by $71,462.78. These are some of the project photos associated with this drainage improvement project in Kandis Park. As you notice, the concrete flume there, draining water that's from the west edge of the park off of Conda, as well as there's some improvements here associated with riprap and armoring in this drainage ditch, and then also the pedestrian bridge. The council really has two alternatives. Again, we're really looking to close this project out. This change order basically allows us to, we were able to complete the project without having to spend all the money associated with certain quantities of pipes and other materials, and so this will allow us to close this out. We are recommending that the council will approve this change order in next week that will reduce the project cost by an amount of $71,462.78.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. There's no questions for you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24012, consider a memorandum resolution approving a Chapter 311 tax increment reimbursement agreement with MGC Pure Chemicals America, Inc. for the reimbursement of certain infrastructure costs associated with the expansion of its operations in an amount not to exceed $600,000.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Revelle.
So this is the first of two agreements that's on the agenda tonight. This is with MGC Pure Chemicals, which was also known as MPCA. You know where they're located, in the business park. They primarily produce ammonium hydroxide, hydrogen peroxide associated with the semiconductor industry, and they're looking to expand the capacity of their existing plants that they have at 4500 Roy J. Smith. This expansion is a doubling of it. It will include adding a ammonium hydroxide manufacturing plant, a hydrogen peroxide manufacturing plant, a maintenance building, as well as other items associated with site improvements, as well as associated with infrastructure, especially the railroad spur. This expansion project is set to be completed by May of 2025. The total improvements associated with this project in dealing with the plant expansion is about $89,213,288 that will be invested. I know there was a question about what kind of investment would be made. I know there was a reference to the 10 new jobs, but in addition to those 10 new jobs, there's almost a $90 million real property investment. In addition to that, there will be almost a $41 million personal property investment. Just a few things associated with safety and environmental concerns, and MGC is also, representatives from MGC is also here, but there are a lot of words on this slide, but in very short, they're basically saying that they're not adding any new chemicals, not adding new processes or new hazards, and all of the requirements associated with air quality permitting, associated with pretreatment, industrial water permitting, and all the requirements associated with OSHA for the protections of their staff, and EPA for the protection of the community, they already have operational plans in place to address them, and all they're doing is modifying those operational plans to address the new quantities of materials that they will have to deal with. Again, this slide has a lot of words, but again, they're saying that they have environmental management systems in place. They have systems in place associated with environmental health and safety plans. All of those systems are certified by the appropriate agencies, including third-party agencies, and they have not had any failures or reports associated with incidents or spills or emission complaints or issues of that nature. They are requesting in total $1.8 million, $1,862,723 for total project costs and personal property tax reimbursements for this particular expansion project. And as we mentioned, there's one associated with the Chapter 311, and this is the one that we're talking about now. The one associated with Chapter 380 will be in the item following. So in Chapter 311, for this particular item, they're requesting a project cost reimbursement from the TERS, because this project is located in this property is located in the TERS, not to exceed $600,000. This shows the current location and footprint of their property. And then this shows on their property the possible railroad spur that will be added. And I say possible because they are looking at 3 different options. And those 3 different options vary in cost from $3.5 million to about $8.6 million. And so, in essence, they're seeking a reimbursement up to $600,000 associated with the project improvement that will involve the installation of this railroad spur that has a value somewhere between $3.5 to $8.6 million. In addition to that, they're also making an investment of a balance of about 80-something million. This item went before the TERS Board on December the 14th, and the TERS Board voted to recommend approval to the City Council of this agreement. The council has these options as mentioned, and staff is recommending that the council on next week would approve this agreement that will allow for this project cost, the project cost that will be expended on the railroad spur to be reimbursed over time, not to exceed $600,000. I'm available, the representatives available from MGC, and also Ms. Chizito is available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. If they're here, can they come up,
Yes,
please?
absolutely.
Okay, you can come up too. You're part of the family. Okay, she's so nice. Good evening, and introduce yourself before I open it up to the council, please.
Sure. Lee Bauer, General Manager based out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Thank you.
Jim Barnhouse, Financial Controller based out of Arizona.
Thank you, sir.
Songwan Kim, Clean Plant Manager.
Thank you.
Derek Merkel, Senior Environmental Health and Safety Specialist for the plant.
Thank you, and I also want to recognize Mr. Cornell, that chamber president, and Ms. Kate. Could you wave your hand, because she's really big on what's going on in Killeen, in the city. So I'm going to start off with Councilmember Adams. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first question is, so how many do you know how many Killeen residents work in the current factory? In the current
I don't believe we know
Okay.
that number offhand, but we can get it pretty easily.
Okay. The other one is, what is the, I guess maybe Mr. Revelle could answer this, or you could, what's the benefit to the city to approving the 311? I know sometimes we do get a windfall based off of the investment that you had or the sales taxes that
Yep.
you had with the.
So
what's-
essentially, currently, we're doubling capacity on the site. We bought the additional land on the west side, I believe. Our expansion is currently expanding the current property. Our future goals is to also expand the new land that we purchased. Our current taxes are roughly $1.2 million a year we're paying currently. New taxes will be an additional $900,000. With the money for the rail, we try to bring in to be economically competitive to our marketplace to supply the semiconductor industries. So all in all, I'm kind of getting both chapters kind of melded together here, and I apologize, but basically, we're spending about $2.1 million combined. We're looking at the $190,000 reimbursement, which will basically be a $7.1 million benefit for clean over 10 years.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, if I may, if, after everyone speak on this, I will request later if they could proceed to the second part of the same presentation, because I think there's something in between.
He's going to do that anyway, right after
Okay.
this one. It's on the agenda that way. Councilmember, thank you, Councilmember Adam. Councilmember Sagara.
Thank you, Mayor. And first of all, I just want to say thank you. I've kind of been there since day one.
At the open house, you were.
I walked the field when there was nothing there with the people from Japan when they came down here. And I remember, we went through a lot with our citizens because there was a lot of concerns. They didn't understand chemicals and, we probably didn't either, so they did a good job in explaining. But I haven't heard anything from any of the citizens, so my question maybe to Mr. Revelle or something, any of the neighbors around there, have we heard anything have they knocked on your door and said, you guys are making too much noise or anything like that?
We have not heard anything as relates to this agreement, and I'm not aware of any code enforcement concerns that have been raised over the time that they've been operating as well.
Yeah, and I kind of assumed there wasn't any. I just wanted to, because I know that, going through, in the beginning, where we didn't, citizens didn't understand what they were getting into. And I think if we're here and you're doing an expansion, then you must be doing a good job there. And I was also on EDC when we created that first performance agreement. And so that means that, everything in that first performance agreement and so forth has been met. And so I congratulate you guys, for doing everything. And this is a partnership with the city of Killeen. And we look forward to your expansion and continued growth. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Councilmember Sagara. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of questions that are project related. What is the construction length on this project?
We're expecting to have the expansion done by completion December 2024.
Okay, gotcha. And are there any buildings being constructed on this, or is it just a rail spur?
For the one that's being submitted right now is just the rail spur, and there'll be offloading areas to put into our raw material tanks.
Outstanding. And just shout out to the previous council and Councilman Sagara for taking that bold step to bring something like this to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Boyd and Councilmember Sagara. Thank you for being the mayor during that time to push that forward with the old council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Ravel. I think you mentioned this, but I think it's worth reiterating. There were a couple of citizen comments saying that maybe this was not worth the squeeze. $1.8 million. I wanted to first clarify, even though you said it, that this is a reimbursement. This is not the city handing you a check for this amount. It's reimbursing you from the property tax increase that you're creating. So we're kind of paying you back with your own money. So I wanted to clarify that. And then number two, sir, you mentioned it, but again, I think it's worth restating that you're currently paying $1.2 million in property taxes annually, and that this request is expected to bring another $900,000 in property taxes annually. So I do think the juice is worth the squeeze, and thank y'all again for choosing Killeen.
Thank you for your support.
Councilmember Alvarez, that was well said. That wrapped everything up. Thank you for that. Thank you. Councilwoman Gonzalez.
And I do second that emotion there. But also the spurring the economic development, thank you for that. That is huge. You've already touched on the things I was going to touch on, so I just want to expand that out to the community involvement. We had a citizen speak also as it relates to the giving back to the budget challenged community portion, that folks that we have in our community. You are not obligated to do that, or the company is not obligated to do that, and that was a huge huge thank you for also donating back to the citizens of the city of Killeen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gonzalez, and that is in her district. So, Councilmember, thank you all for your comments. Mayor Pro Tem, you have anything before we move on?
Thank you.
Short to the point. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you for all you do for our community. Mr. Revelle, thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24013, consider a memorandum resolution approving a Chapter 380 Economic Development Agreement with Southern Roots Brewing Company for the reimbursement of renovation costs in an amount not to exceed $150,000 and authorizing the sale of the city-owned property located at 324 North Gray Street.
Madam Secretary, I apologize. I thought we were going to switch up to
Yes,
what
ma'am. We can do
Councilmember Adams had requested. Yes, ma'am.
RS 24014, Consider a memorandum resolution approving a Chapter 380 Economic Development Incentive Agreement with MGC Pure Chemicals America, Inc. for the reimbursement of certain costs associated with the expansion of its operations in an amount not to exceed $1,262,723.
And Madam Secretary, I apologize for the misunderstanding. I apologize. Mr. Revelle.
So this is the companion item. This is dealing with the personal property taxes reimbursement. So all of this stuff on the slide we've already covered, so I won't belabor on that. I will point out in the second bullet that this is dealing with this investment of $40,680,000 and $511. So this is related, this personal property reimbursement is related to that amount of money. Everything is still the same here and here. Again, they're requesting, and the last bullet really notes what they're requesting, a tax reimbursement of 50% of the new personal property tax for 10 years for a maximum reimbursement of $1,262,723. It is worth pointing out, and this is similar to what Councilman Alvarez was saying, that this is based on the new investment that they're making. So this is not, they already have personal property that's valued at $13,845,222. That's not being included in the reimbursement request. It's only the new that is added to it from the $40,608,511. The options that the council has. And we are recommending approval of the request for the 50% reimbursement of new personal property tax for 10 years, not to exceed the number that's noted on the slide.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. And also taking under consideration, I don't know if you said, they still have to pay their taxes on the $130 million.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just
Yes,
wanted you to make sure everybody know how that's going to work. Yes, sir. Thank you for that part. Councilmember Adams.
That's another quick question, just for everybody's edification. That 1.2 million is over 10 years, it's not
Yes,
annual.
and that's a maximum.
Got it, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. If that's all the questions, Madam Secretary. Oh, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I didn't know if you were
Oh,
going to have more
no,
questions,
sir.
so I thought I would just come up. So thank you.
Yes, sir, but if you wanted to say anything before we move on to the next item, it's still
I'm all
open.
set, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24013, consider a memorandum resolution approving a Chapter 380 Economic Development Agreement with Southern Roots Brewing Company for the reimbursement of renovation costs in an amount not to exceed $150,000 and authorizing the sale of the city-owned property located at 324 North Gray Street.
Thank you. Mr. Revelle, I'm not sure if you heard the questions from Mr. Sean Price, and I would hope that when you go through it, that you would address those questions. I can tell you quickly, in margin of property for building, do we know how many full-time employees? Are the 72 hours free for the city those days? Also, the title of the business remain with the city. Will the city receive any taxes?
Okay. I will note that Ms. Cazillo is here as well as representatives, the property owners, or those who are interested in being property owners, are here from Southern Roots that can also answer the question, especially as it relates to the employees, the full-time and part-time.
Yes, sir.
breakdown.
After the presentation, I'll
Yes, ma'am.
call them up. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So this is an economic development incentive associated with the sale of the Hacks Building, 324 North Gray Street. As you all are aware, we have been working seriously to continue to move downtown forward as it relates to reinvestment, and this slide really speaks to that. And this project here, we really envision as one of those catalyst projects where the city puts some public dollars and sweat equity in, and we use that to leverage a private partner. And that's exactly what we have on tonight. As you're aware, over the past year, The city has done a good job of attracting downtown businesses. The occupancy rate under Mr. Zito's reign, so to speak, has doubled significantly. And as a result, a number of the smaller businesses have been able to open, and the smaller footprints have opened. And those are service-based businesses, and they come with their own clientele, and those have happened. But for these larger type buildings, oftentimes it takes a little bit of city effort to get it started, and that's what this council allowed us to embark upon several months ago. So let's go through that timeline right quickly. On March 2023, the city was approached by the then owners of this building. They had attempted to sell it on the private market, did all they could, and they were not able to. They were really interested in offloading the building, and the city saw an opportunity to help them, and so we did, and we did that purchase. This building, also when we presented this to you all, we received word to make sure that this is a partnership with KDC, and from the very beginning, KDC has been a partner with us in this effort, and we appreciate that as well. In May 2023, the city actually was able to purchase the property from the then property owners. Then in June of 2023, we purchased the property at a price of $288,000. I'll take a pause here. So, and Councilman Alvarez has already addressed it, but the tax value is not the same thing as the market value or the appraised value. So the tax value is what the tax assessor says, the tax district says, that's what it's, how it's said in Texas. The tax district says it's about $192,000. But the market value, what it could sell for, what it could buy for, was at $288,000, and this number was based on an appraisal. So this is based on an appraisal. So the city didn't just pull this out of the air. It's based on a sound appraisal that we were able to engage the services for. In October of 2023, we decided to submit an open competition to allow us to attract the best redeveloper or best private partner that could engage with this, what we thought to be a catalyst property. As a result of that, there were multiple tours that occurred because the interest was very significant. Ultimately, 5 proposals to purchase the property or to partner with the city as it relates to the reuse of the property were submitted. All of those proposals were reviewed by staff, myself, Kate, and Mr. Cornell, and that evaluation was done based on the criteria here. I will not read, but I will pause. At the conclusion of that, we received those proposals, and we selected Southern Roots Brewery. So who is Southern Roots Brewery? They were founded in Waco in 2018, and they are looking for an opportunity because they're not newbies. They're looking for an opportunity to actually open their 4th and largest location right here in downtown Killeen. They are also a local family and veteran-owned business, and they're very passionate about investing in Killeen. They've already interacted with the downtown community and fitting in really, really well. As I mentioned, they have several locations already, one in Waco, one in Waxahachie. I think I got that right, Kate. Multiple locations. And they also have a tap room that is open in the city of Killeen. And I don't know if that's District 4 or not. Councilman Board. I think it is. So they already have a footprint here. It is also worth noting that this building is located in the historic district, so they'll have to follow historic district guidelines, and also if there are opportunity for grants and incentives from the federal, state, and locals, there will be opportunities for that as well. Southern Roots has been a great downtown partner. They've known for hosting multiple community events. If you've got a chance to read your packet, you can see all that they've done in their other locations by being a community-minded business. In addition, from the data that they have, most of their, about a third of their sales come from tourists, so they will be a great draw and attraction magnet to the downtown area, and we're excited about that as well. This basically picture just shows the brewery that's located in Waco. You see the building itself, and then you see the interior, the restaurant component and the brewery component. And this will be a similar setup for the location here in Killeen, but of course it will be much larger. This actually is a picture of what the Waco building looked like before they invested in it. So let me go back. And so that's the before. So they know what they're doing and know how to make sure that the structure becomes a beneficial influence to the community as opposed to a blighted influence. This is the Waxahachie location. I think I said that right. I got very close to it. I'll keep moving. In addition to brewery operations, Southern Roots will also have a full-service family restaurant. They'll be open 7 days a week, and as we said, a lot of engagement with the community. Menu as items that are listed in the second bullet, and then really tend to be a destination location to be able to have an event space and things of that nature. And I'll deal with the last bullet in a moment, Mayor. That kind of deals with one of the questions as well. But this project, they will add 30 local jobs, up to 30 local jobs. It'll be a combination of full-time and part-time, and the owners are prepared to give more information on that as the council may request, at an average salary of about $50,000 a year. Also, Southern Root intends to use this as their main brewing location for the distribution of their HEB sales. If you don't know, they are already in HEB. Southern Roots is also offering to the city a public-private partnership opportunity. And there is not a cost to the city, so there's no cost of $108,000. The reason why that number was put there was to show the value of what it is that they were offering to the city. So they're offering 72 days out of a year for the city to use it for city and public purposes at no cost to the city, but it would have a value of about $108,000. So I hope that clarified what that's all about. In addition, outside of this agreement, Southern Roots is also working with KDC for an economic incentive to support building renovations in the amount noted on the slide. So what is the essence of this agreement with the city? Basically, Southern Roots plans to invest $1.2 million in terms of real property improvements and personal property improvements at the location that will generate the jobs that we mentioned before, well-paying jobs, and then they're agreeing to be continuously open as it relates to meeting this agreement for the terms of this agreement, as noted in the agreement for 5 years. Of course, we're looking forward to them being open much longer than that, but I'm just saying what the agreement says in terms of the terms of the agreement. The City of Killeen, in exchange for this private investment, the City of Killeen is being asked to sell the property via a warranty deed. So let me deal with that question. So we're selling it via a warranty deed, which means that Southern Roots will become an owner of the property. The city will not own the property. Southern Roots will own it. We will retain a lien on the property, and that lien will be retained for 5 years after operations. And so this $300,000 sale is similar to, like you buy a house and you get a mortgage, right? You buy the house, you own it, but the mortgage is the lien against it. And so we are holding, if you will, a vendor's lien against the property. And basically, the way the agreement reads, as long as they continue to operate as a pub at that location for 5 years continuously, then that $300,000 would be forgivable. In addition to that, $150,000 economic incentive will be provided toward the renovation costs for this, and that will be reimbursed over a 5-year period. So basically, up front, Southern Roots is making a $1.2 million investment, and over time, the city is making its investment over a 5-year period, to be exact. So the council has the options as noted on the slide. And staff is recommending that the council approve moving forward with this economic development agreement with Southern Roots Brewing as presented. And we're
Thank
prepared
you.
to answer questions and what I may have missed, either Kate or the property owner can address.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. Yesterday, Ms. Kate and the Assistant City Manager and I, we had the opportunity to go downtown because we have so many businesses that we have not even said yet that are coming to the downtown area. And I just want to say kudos to you, Ms. Kate. You have really gone beyond. And I thank this council too. When I came on 2017, one of the things I ran on, continue to run on, I think everybody up here ran on, especially Councilwoman Gonzalez and Councilmember Alvarez, I can truly say this, was revitalization of downtown Killeen. And my goodness, the leaps and bounds you and Mr. Revelle have done with your staff has gone beyond what we could imagine in 2024, starting in 2023. So I know the council, thank you for everything y'all have done. And Mr. Connell, also the chamber for going out and helping out and making things happen for our downtown Killeen. And I am truly happy for that. All righty then, with that being, could you have them to come up, because there's some questions. Good evening to all of you. Would you please just state your name for the record?
Well, I'll introduce them for you. This is Crystal Evans, her son Dustin Evans, their Caitlin, their daughter-in-law, and then Keith Evans, the owners of Southern Roots Brewery. Hi.
Oh, hi, please come on. Okay, hi. Well, thank you all. Thank you. I can see you in person. All right, we're going to start with Councilmember Sagara, Councilmember Adams, and then District 1 Representative, Councilwoman Gonzalez, followed by Councilmember Alvarez.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And I just want to say this is exciting. I think this is more exciting than the little bit of excitement we had here before the meeting, so. But I want to just say I appreciate it because, one of the things, and, first off, the staff did a great job. Appreciate what you're doing. And thank you for working with our KEDC, Mr. Connell and everybody. But this is what we're trying to do as a city. We're trying to get our downtown, it's been going on for years and years. And it seems like the last couple of years, we're seeing some momentum in it. And we're always looking for an anchor. And, we had the comedy club, and I think you guys are going to be that perfect anchor, and it's just going to grow. And for those that are citizens that don't understand why city do things like this, we're trying, as I mentioned, to create that momentum. And over time, I think that downtown is going to be such a huge attraction that we won't have to do anything like that. I think your building would be, everything goes up in value. But I think you picked a perfect area. I think that this is probably going to outdo your other areas because one thing, as you probably already know, we have a young generation here. I should say they're responsible young beer drinkers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love beer. I'm an old guy, so. But I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you, and we're excited that you're here, and we look forward. I look forward to your grand opening. I know it's going to be a while. What does the timeline look like?
We project about 1 year once we move to the final agreements.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. First, say that Mr. Boyd don't drink beer, so I don't think he's old enough yet. That may be why he didn't know the answer. First question: it was asked on citizen comments, but the 72 hours or 72 days? We're not paying for that. That's just a.
No, the city is not paying for it. We just give you the opportunity to use the facility for meetings or whatnot. We continue to work our business during that time, but
Got it.
you have that space available to you.
Thank you. And I guess to Mr. Revelle, there are no zoning changes needed. I think is that multi-use or mixed use? And so any new zoning changes need to be made?
We don't anticipate any zoning changes. As we understand the nature of their business, they'll be doing more food sales and
Okay.
alcohol sales. And then the manufacturing is more, the brewery piece is more so an accessory use to the restaurant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Did you hear the questions that was proposed earlier today? Or I can go back over them.
Sure.
It was a questioning margin of property for building. Do we know how many will be full-time? That's one question. And are the 72, I had hours, but days free for the city? You answered that. I think Mr. Revelle answered the question, title of the business remain with the city. So he already answered that. So I guess it's just the employees.
So currently in our breweries, we run about 3 to 4 full-time employees, just depending. We expect, since we're moving all of our manufacturing facility for canning and stuff like that for HEB, that we'll have probably 4 to 5 full-time employees. And then the rest bartenders and all that.
Yes, ma'am. And you'll be bringing them with you, or will it be?
No, from here.
Okay.
They'll be from here.
You're making me smile. It's one of the things, the highest quality of life. You can't have a high quality of life if you don't have a job.
Absolutely. We agree.
So, I mean, that's the only way you're going to have a high quality of life. You got to have a job. You got to have a job. All right, great. Councilmember Alvarez and I'm sorry, Councilmember Gonzalez, and then Councilmember Alvarez, and finally, Councilmember Boyd.
So a couple things before I get started, but welcome to District 1, and thank you. We're looking forward to having you guys. But I do want to start first with, just touch really quick to Ms. Kate and Mr. Revelle, because having a vision, they say you have to have a vision and then you have to make it plain. And I'm from here originally. I'm crybaby, but the downtown was so stagnant. And people said that we couldn't do it, that it was worth letting it die, that there was no point in investing. Nobody's going to come down here. And I had to fight, but I had to prove my point, and my council got behind the vision. Mr. Revelle attached and added your expertise. We were gifted to find Kate, who has taken the reins. Downtown Kate is what they call you. We love Kate. But they have taken Downtown Kate, and she has blown this out of the water in such a short period of time, first of all, right? So then we've got this historical building, right? And then we've got this wonderful family who actually, you guys served here. You were stationed here, is my understanding as well, right?
We live here.
Well, you
Me
live
and my
here,
husband
right? So I want everybody to know that. You were from here. You served our United States Army here. This is just wonderful. We couldn't ask for a better combination to be able to be a part of our downtown and our continued growth for our city of Killeen. This public-private partnership is also something I have been championing for a long, long time. You guys get it because you're doing it already in other areas. So bringing that mentality and that level of commitment to community here, I hope that it will be an igniter for the rest of the community to see that it can be done. So I just want to say thank you for investing in the city of Killeen. Thank you for taking a chance on downtown. Thank you, Kate, for bringing them here, and Mr. Revelle for allowing her to be free to to help us find the progress. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for being here. I think they pretty much stole all the thunder. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a born and raised Killeenite, and I grew up probably 4 blocks away from where you guys are going to put this brewery. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for having that vision. I visited Traveling Pint and Pizza, great establishment, so I know that the product is going to be outstanding. There's so many other great things that are coming that are already in the pipeline for downtown. I'm glad that this one kind of gets to lead the charge. There'll be lots of other announcements following you guys for all this downtown area, the Rancier corridor, lots of great things, all to be truly excited about. But again, just thank you guys for doing this, and I look forward to that ribbon cutting.
Me too. I guess Councilman Boyd don't want to speak, but once again, thank you all and council, the visionaries of our city, our future growth. My speech is cut short.
No.
Councilmember Boyd.
You can finish, Madam Mayor, that's fine.
No, I was just going to say thank you as well. And Mr. Revelle, I wasn't aware of the tap room because I don't drink, so don't hold that against me. But I'll tell you what, I look forward to seeing this building and what you all do with it. A lot of us walked in it in its most raw state. And boy, we're excited to see what you guys are going to do with it. And the last thing I was going to say is there's a lot of excitement around this between us, between city staff, people in the community. We think this may be that one thing that really drives the growth downtown. So again, thank you all for considering downtown. Again, thanks again to staff.
Thank you. And once again, thank you for bringing jobs to our area. And I stand by that. In order to have the highest quality of life, you got to have a job. And now you're providing employment for our residents. Councilmember Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too want to get in on the bandwagon of this. Thank you. Since everybody on this train. But you know, I too had a chance to go and tour downtown to all of the businesses down there with Miss Kate and Miss Revelle. I really enjoyed myself. I had so much fun. I didn't realize there were that many businesses down there, and I was just, to my surprise. I also went in that building that you all have now. My second day in office, I got a chance to go on the second floor. And I'm telling you, I'm just can't wait to see how y'all gonna flip this, because you know, I gotta wait to see this flip. And it sounds like it's gonna be great. And thank you for investing in Killeen. I don't drink either. I don't drink beer either, but I'm glad for the business.
We've got pizza as well.
Okay. I'll take the pizza.
We'll go get some pizza, okay? We just sit on the sideline.
Pizza and soda, we got that.
I'll take a pizza and a Sprite, right?
Yeah. But before we leave, you finished, Councilman?
I just want to say thanks to Ms. Revelle and Ms. Kate again. Thank you for the fine job that y'all doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we close, I want to open it up to see if any one of you have anything you want to say to the council, to the public. Any one of you?
Before I go.
Madam Mayor and council,
Sure.
thank you so much for having us here this evening. When we came across Kate and Mr. Revelle, they had a vision for downtown, and as folks who have lived here, even though we opened our business, our first one in Waco, we actually own other businesses and have been in the community for about 34 years in terms of business. My parents still live here, and I think when I saw their vision, it got me excited, and I'm really, really excited to see all that's happened in downtown Killeen, and we look forward to many, many years of that.
Thank you so much. Mr. Revelle, Ms. Kate, do y'all have anything you would like to say?
I just wanted to follow all of it up with a thank you to all of you. It's the vision and the support from you guys that allows me and the rest of the city to move forward. And also want to thank all of our departments here in the city because I can't do it without them. So just a huge thank you to everyone for making something like this available to happen.
So we just send a shout out to the whole city staff, employees,
Yes,
all.
ma'am.
Okay, City of Killeen, Team Killeen. All right, thank you all, thank you all. Madam Secretary.
PH 24001, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance requested by Able Engineering, PLLC, on behalf of NMP Killeen Limited Partnership, case number Z23-27, to amend the Planned Unit Development, PUD, standards for the Rosewood Commercial Planned Unit Development, ordinance number 18-038, to add 4 additional apartment buildings and 96 dwelling units. The subject property is locally addressed as 3701 Rosewood Drive, Killeen, Texas.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Revelle.
Oh, you
finished? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Manager, Assistant City Manager. This item here is a case to amend the existing planned unit development for property that is physically located at 3701 Rosewood Drive. The star shows the approximate location. It's also, the location of the property is actually known as Hudson at Killeen, just off of Rosewood Drive. Shows the location. As you will notice, there are existing 9 buildings here, and the request is to add additional buildings in this section here. As we stated, the request is to amend the existing planned unit development to add 4 additional apartment buildings that will yield an additional 96 dwelling units. The current ordinance in place basically allow for 9 apartment buildings, so there are currently 9 there. There are currently 216 dwellings. If this request is approved on next week by the council, this would amend to increase the dwelling units by 96 and the number of buildings by 4, so 13 buildings, 312 dwelling units on the site. This site plan shows the additional 4 buildings that have been requested to be added. This is basically a blow up or closer in. I will go ahead and point out that these 4 buildings were requested. I did receive additional information today where they're seeking to do 3 buildings. We had been in conversation with them, seeing if there was an opportunity to change this request from 4 to a lower number, and they did submit an amendment today that we just got. And so we'll do some follow-up between now and Tuesday that will actually show 3 buildings. The configuration as it relates to parking is a little different from what's shown on this map, but basically this building would be removed. And the parking configuration, like I said, has changed a little bit, but the remaining buildings are pretty much laid out in their revised submission as shown on this depiction. The subject property is currently zoned planned unit development with the base zoning of multifamily residential. And then, of course, a PUD is required because it's greater than 5 acres. It's also worth noting that within this PUD requirement, any half-acre property only allows for 2,500 square feet per dwelling unit. In this particular case here, if this request for these additional 96 units was approved, that would actually make that square footage per dwelling unit about 2,250. So that standard would not be met. Basically, the way that standard is set for the 2,500 square feet, it would allow a maximum, as the second bullet says, of 280 dwelling units. Okay? I guess this shows the location and the surrounding zoning. This shows the existing property surroundings. CTE is in the depth of the picture. Okay, let's try to get through this comp plan analysis stuff. It's residential mix, so it's consistent with the future land use plan. Also, it's in the intended growth area, so those are areas where we expect development happen. There's a plan for, there's close to existing development. That most certainly is the case here. It moves forward or drives forward the following comp plan recommendations. I will not read them. It's also in the development zone number 7. You see the land use breakdown and the zoning breakdown. In addition, and this is worth noting, it is located in the floodplain area. It's located in the FEMA designated floodplain. The entire location of where the 4 buildings is being proposed is within a FEMA designated floodplain. And so as the second bullet says, there would be a flood study that would also have to occur and to be able to show that this development would not create any off-site impacts. And again, this slide actually shows the floodplain extent. So this light bluish tint is the floodplain extent, and that's also the area where these buildings or these improvements are being proposed. All property notifications have been accomplished. The staff did receive one request in support, or one response in support, and 3 responses in opposition. This shows the notification extent. And because this map actually depicts the property IDs, I can't point out the exact addresses, but along Acorn Creek is where those 3 notifications came. And as you can see, they border the western edge of the development. And I would say, I need to go back just a moment. I know you all don't want me to do that, but just quickly. There is they are proposing to put screening here, fencing, and then also vegetative screening on the west and the southern side, which again, the areas that abut or adjacent to those residential areas. And then there's also somewhat of a clear zone as it relates to the floodplain in here as well, where no development is being contemplated. Okay. There. So the council has these alternatives, the typical alternatives there. And staff is actually recommending that the applicant's requests be approved, but with the following conditions. That is to add up to 3 additional apartment buildings as opposed to the 4 that was originally requested. That would basically add 72 additional units and get us closer to that 2,500 per unit dwelling mark. And then also that they provide the landscape buffer along the west and southwest property lines adjacent to the single-family residential development, as noted. At the December 4th Planning and Zoning Commission, they actually voted to recommend disapproval of the applicant's request. And again, the applicant's request was the 4 apartment buildings, 96 units. And so therefore, as the council considers this, it'll have to be at least 6 votes in order to grant approval of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Revelle. I just want to make a quick announcement. The public hearing will be held January the 16th, 2024. With that being said, Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First question I got is, because of the amendment, are they subject to the parkland dedication? And where would the new parkland be if they added those 4?
So as a part of this, I believe they are doing the fees in lieu of. So they are subject to the requirements, but there is an opportunity for fees in lieu of. And so, but yes, it will be addressed.
And I try to keep everything personal out of this, but I do traverse Rosewood.
Sure.
And whether it's me or anybody else, what about traffic study? Are they required to do a new one because they're adding the?
Yes, so they had to submit a traffic impact analysis worksheet. And from that worksheet, it was determined that a traffic impact analysis will be required. So as a part of this process, as this moves through the process toward development, one of the first things that will have to be done is that traffic impact analysis.
And then any changes to the traffic, like traffic control devices, who pays for that if the analysis determines that?
If the analysis determines that they're impacts, then they have to offset those impacts that they cause.
Okay. And then what was, if you can tell me, what was P&Z's reason for disapproval?
Yeah, so
the general reason. I don't want you to tell me all 4 people that voted.
Sure. I believe if you look at the P&Z minutes, they were concerned about the floodplain location. They was concerned about that impact. There were some people who had, from the public, who came to speak about flooding concerns in the area, traffic concerns in the area. But I think generally speaking, they were concerned about flooding impacts.
That leads to my last question. So the permit hasn't been granted yet. So if we did approve it, it would be conditioned upon the permit being approved, or would we wait until they get the permit, or does, I know it's like a self-licking ice cream cone, or do they need our approval to even go get the permit?
So when you say permit, are you referring to the FEMA?
Yeah, the FEMA.
Okay, so
waiver.
they would have to do a FEMA study. And so they'll have to submit what's called a conditional letter of map revision. And basically that's saying to FEMA, this is what we plan to do. And then FEMA will review that and say, and issue some kind of response. And then so at that point there, they'll have to address that with FEMA. This that we're dealing with today is actually separate from that.
Okay.
So it's really not contingent upon. However, I will say that, of course, the two issues are not unrelated, right? And so that was part of the reason why staff is making the recommendation that we're making to limit the development impact in the floodplain.
You forced the last question, another last question. So if FEMA says no, does that kill the project?
So if they go through the submission to FEMA, and FEMA has some issues with it, then they'll have an opportunity to redress whatever those concerns that FEMA has expressed. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the project is dead. It just means that they'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to address FEMA's concerns. And again, the intent is they're in the floodplain where they have to show that they will not create a rise above a foot. And so they'll have to demonstrate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What happens if this amendment is not approved? What uses exist for the land at that point?
So they still have an opportunity to move forward with the development with R3. They still have an opportunity to use for R3. But again, they just need to be able to address FEMA requirements. But that's beyond this particular request.
Understood. Relating to this, are there any parks that are a part of this?
No.
PUD at all?
No parks that are a part of this. Give me 1 second here. There are no parks that are being generated, but they will address whatever the park land dedication requirements are. They will address that.
And that's through the fees, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to force a park in here, but that would be a great location for a park where there is not one with all that development. That's just my opinion. But my two questions related to this is the distance between the single-family units and the proposed multifamily units. What is the average width of that drainage easement along Acorn Creek? It's what? Okay, Councilmember answered. About 100 feet, is that about right, Mr. Ravel?
That sounds about right. And also the engineer of record is here as well, so he may be able to answer that as well, just so that it's accurate.
That's okay. If it's around 100 feet, I'm just imagining that buffer and noise
Yes.
and height for the single family it's abutting. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Ravel. I was surprised to see this project come forth for this public hearing. It seems like a expensive project for 3 or 4 buildings. I mean, you've already mentioned some of the hurdles that they have to overcome. Either build in the floodplain, and they got to floodproof and elevate it. They got to also prove no adverse impact, no rise. My bigger question, and this may be an engineering question, is this project, when it was first submitted and approved, had a post-construction development credit component to it. I don't recall what the BMP was that they chose. I thought at one point the discussion was leaving part of this space as open, but I'm not 100%. So I'm sure your team has looked at that, but I'd be curious to know what exactly, what permanent BMP they used to achieve that post-construction development credit, because, I'd hate to place a building on top of it if they were supposed to leave part of this open or have some kind of dog park for residents or whatever the case may have been at that time. That document is recorded with Bell County, so we should be able to get a copy of that fairly easily.
Yes, we can provide a follow-up on that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Alvarez. That's all, Mr. Revelle. Madam Secretary, items for discussion at workshop, our last item. Council, you have 5 minutes each to speak 2 times each. Madam Secretary.
DS 24002, discuss the FY 2025 budget calendar.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good evening, Mrs. Drake.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is the FY '25 budget calendar that we are proposing. So we would start with a workshop for City Council's input and priorities, and we were proposing to hold that in February, possibly on the 21st. And then we were proposing to move the fee review and the public hearing for that, have the fee review, a workshop on May 21st, and then we would have the workshop on June 4th and the public hearing on June 11th, where we would actually do the public hearing and adoption of the fees and rates prior to the delivery of the budget versus how we did it last year. And then we would do the preview of the budget on June 4th, along with delivery of presentations from the community partners. So all that would take place prior to the delivery of the budget in July. So then the delivery of the budget would be on July 2nd, and the first public hearing would be on July 23rd. Then there would be the setting of the proposed tax rate on August 6th. And then should there be a need for a second budget public hearing, that would be held on September 3rd. And then the proposed adoption date for the budget and the tax rate would be on September 10th. So tonight we were seeking direction for the proposed calendar and the setting of the special workshop to get the City Council's input and priorities on the upcoming budget. And last year, we did that on February 15th, and it was a noon session in the main conference room, and that seemed to work very well. And so that's what we were proposing for this year, possibly on February 21st. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mrs. Drake. There are no questions. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, that's fine. We have a motion by Councilmember Boyd. Can I get a second?
Adams.
All in
Second.
favor? Meeting adjourned.